Are we starting? Yes, we are. Okay. Hello. So I don't know about all of you people, but where I live, it's really rainy, it's stormy, there's typhoons like every fucking week at this point, and I am sick of it. However, most of you apparently, thanks to the demographic thing on the YouTube studio, apparently live in the US. And in the US, it is summertime. Sun's out, fun's out, buns out.
Good heavens.
Whatever, you do you. But some of you would probably rather stay home and read. And that's why I'm here. That's why I got you. I am here to provide what needs to be provided, and that is bookish recommendations in the horror variety, because that's what we do here, okay? Horror isn't a phase.
It's a lifestyle.
My lifestyle. Some call it fate. I call it purpose. This is what we're gonna do here today. So I thought that I would recommend some horror books that meet the summery vibe, that you can read during summer, that you can read by the poolside, that's probably gonna freak you out. I mean, like, why not? We wanna spice up the life. We wanna get all down and dirty. We wanna freak ourselves out once in a while. I know I do. So sit down, relax, strap on the strap-ons, and let's do this. Also, I should preface this by saying that a lot of these books, kind of all of them now that I'm looking at it, are extreme horror books. So if you're the kind of person who is like, I read my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, I'm a horror fan, I can handle anything, give me the recommendations, hide the trigger warnings because they're spoilers. No. Please be mindful of trigger warnings, because extreme horror books are written with the explicit purpose of offending, shocking, disgusting, and disturbing you, okay? These books were written to gain that reaction. That's why I read them. That's why many of my friends read them. They bring you back down to the world. They humble you. They open your eyes to the darkness. If you think you've got trigger warnings, please look them up. So the first book I would like to tell all you lovely people about is The Ruins by Scott Smith. Now, I actually own a copy of this book, but I am just way too lazy to go look for it. It's somewhere in there, bitch. So The Ruins by Scott Smith follow these two couples. They're vacationing in Mexico, and one thing leads to another. They find themselves in the jungle, and they find some ruins, and the locals are like, don't go there. You are not allowed to go there. But like, these bitches, what are they gonna do? They're dumb tourists. They fuck around. It's like, fuck around and you're gonna get fucked with. And that's what they do. And that's what happens. It's gory. It's gritty. Warning, there are like no chapters, so if you're the kind of person who likes to read books with short chapters because it makes you feel like you're flying through the thing, maybe this will be a bit of a challenge. Also, the writing is a bit dense at first, but when you keep going and you get like into the meat of things and shit starts to go down, girl. What else do I got for y'all? Interesting question. Let's go with The Seasonal Namesake. Let's go with The Summer I Died by Ryan C. Thomas. The Summer I Died is one of the scariest books I've ever read. A lot of people have dismissed this as torture porn, yada yada, but in my opinion, I prefer the term splatterpunk, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having your book be that, especially if it is written with the same gusto and dread and knack for crafting scenes that truly get under your skin like this book. This book freaked me out. This book had the effect that so few books had on me, where I was just flipping through the pages and wanting to stop because I was dreading what was happening next. And I should probably tell you what this book is about. We follow these two young men. One of them is named Roger. The other one is named Tooth. Roger is the more mature, responsible one. He goes to college and he is coming to visit for the summer. Tooth is his childhood friend. They're in the woods and one day they hear a woman screaming, and being the heroes slash curious young men that they are, they investigate this distressed scream, and when they find out why this bitch was screaming, they regret everything. And what I loved so much about this book was the fact that yes, horrible things do happen, but the fact that you care so much about these people makes the experience so much more terrifying, because you're like, oh my gosh, how are these guys gonna go about this situation? Because I would be dead. Like, some of the things that happen to these boys, I'm like, I would rather just be dead, honestly. Like, I would not want to go through this. And I'll just let you find out what that is, okay? Okay. It's a lot though, so be prepared. Iron stomachs, iron dispositions. Anyway, next on a much more lighthearted note is The Tribesmen by Adam Caesar. This book is so fucking good. This is like the least scary one on this list. This one's actually more of a horror comedy, I would say. And the reason I say this is because this book follows a bunch of indie filmmakers who go on this island and they try to make an indie film, and they run into so many problems. They have to write the script on the spot. So much shit is happening, so much shit is going wrong. It's so funny. And this is all happening in the midst of the popularity of the Italian cannibal films in the late 70s, early 80s. And if you've seen the film Cannibal Holocaust, which I sincerely hope you have not, because I did when I was 16. I was a 16-year-old child and I found a bootleg DVD of that in some sketchy store somewhere, and I purchased it and I was like, I'm gonna conquer this film. This film is not gonna faze me, bitch. I was so fucking traumatized. I had to get rid of that DVD and I could only watch rom-coms for like the following month, because that movie, when I say that this movie fucked me up, let me just say that this director was accused of killing his own actors, and there was some real life animal cruelty, so it's like, bitch, this movie is wrong. And I watched the whole thing because I was stupid and brave. YOLO doesn't always mean you should do the thing, okay? But what I loved so much about this movie was not the movie itself, but the trivia that accompanied this movie, the making of Cannibal Holocaust, the fact that they had to get a makeup lady to do some of the scenes, the fact that there was so much budget cuts, like issues with the actors, the fact that the director got sued, the director had to go to court and prove that he did not kill his own actors. If you're the kind of person who was traumatized by this film, but also fascinated by the fucking trivia and controversies about this movie, go find this book. This book is gonna be for you. I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It was so funny. It was so gross. I just love it with my entire being, okay? With my soul. And it's set in like an island, the beachy vibes, just go for it. It's the perfect book for the summer, okay? So I also really do want to recommend the book The Clown Hunt by Judith Sonnet. This is a very extreme horror novel, and I don't really want to give much away, but we follow this guy named Willow. He has a very sad life. He just found out that he was cheated on by his boyfriend. He lost his job, he's homeless, relationshipless, and so he ends up turning to prostitution. And one day he and some friends, I think, are hired to dress up as clowns and entertain this client. I don't want to give away much of what happens in this story because it is pretty short, but I will say this. They end up having to fight for their life in a very dangerous situation, and this book has one of the gnarliest kills I have ever read in an extreme horror book. People are gonna be pissed, people are gonna be triggered, people are gonna be fucked up, and I was just like, damn, Judith, this is damn. So if you are in the mood for a quick, poolside, fun slasher book, you know, for the summer slasher book, go for it. Great stuff. I also really do want to recommend the book True Crime by Samantha Kolesnik. It does present a road trip story in the outdoors and shows you the vast American landscapes and the forgotten lands and stuff. And basically we follow this young woman who, from a very young age, was abused by her mom. Her and her brother were abused by the mom. And they retaliate and end up killing the mom and going on this road trip, running away from home. And the book is very heavy. It deals with so many intense subject matters, but it's also a very beautiful story. And it's a very dark and honest look at human cruelty and generational trauma and the things we do to cope. This book reminded me so much of the film Badlands by Terrence Malick, starring Sissy Spacek and Martin Sheen. Fantastic film. I do recommend watching this movie in companion to this book. So yeah, be aware of that. Good stuff. I also do, of course, want to recommend My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Okay, this is a summer horror recommendation. You cannot not have this in your list. How the fuck am I gonna make a list of summer horror books and not put this fucking book in this list? Okay, this book was beautiful. We follow a group of girlfriends. They're out, they're doing drugs one night. It's summer, they're drinking. One of them gets lost. And when they find her, she's not acting the way she was before she got lost, okay? Shit goes down. And it's creepy, it's eerie. But the story of friendship and sisterhood and trauma and all that good stuff is very well explored, and this is a very good book. I loved it. The ending will have you cheering and maybe crying, I don't know. It's really good, and each chapter is like a song from the 80s, so it's like 80s nostalgia, summer vibes, paranormal, horror. The cover is beautiful, and I just can't recommend it enough. It is the good stuff. Next is a book that I didn't really care for, and that is Off Season by Jack Ketchum. This is about a woman who's like a writer, I believe, and she's gone through some shit. And so she and her sister and a bunch of their friends rent this house, and the town is really empty, it's off season. But what they don't know is that somewhere in the distance is a cave, and in the cave resides some cannibals, you know, people with a penchant for human consumption, human barbecues. There's a scene where there is a sexual intercourse and blood is used as lube. And that was one of the better scenes in this book. This book is kind of boring for me, but I do have respect for it, and I do have respect for the author, who will emerge again later on in this list. And I just can't make an extreme horror list set in summer vacation times and not put Off Season on it, okay? I mean, it wasn't for me, but it'll be for someone else, maybe for you. All right, so what do we have next? We have another Jack Ketchum book, The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. This is a truly fucking disturbing book. It takes place in the rural suburbs. Summertime, there's a creek nearby, people are fishing for crayfish, children are playing in the streets, going to sleepovers. However, in the basement of one of the houses is a girl, I think her name is Meg in this book. She is an orphan, she was recently orphaned, and she is being held in the basement, and the children are permitted by her legal guardian to torture her. I know this sounds very dark, but this is actually based on a true story, the case of Sylvia Likens. Bailey Sarian did a full video on this, and it's one of the cases that I was literally given nightmares by. This book goes there. And the thing is like, this is probably Jack Ketchum's least overtly violent book. Like, there's no splatter, there's no like guts, there's none of that stuff. This book isn't from the point of view of a third-person omniscient character, so you don't see everything that happens. Rather, you're put in the head of one of the boys in the neighborhood, and this book says a lot of things about what would you do if you were the bystander, how would you act in this situation, what role do adults have in the upbringing of kids. This book says so many worthwhile and important things, and I just had to put this in this list because this is like true horror. Human beings doing fucked up shit, and it's a true story. On a more lighthearted note is Header by Edward Lee, and this book is one of the most disgusting things I've ever fucking read. Just knowing what a header is fucked me up, but it's also one of the funniest books I've ever read. And girl, the ending is like so calculatedly sadistic and fucked up and cruel that I just burst out into laughter because of how inventive and imaginative it was, and I just love this book. I don't want to give too much of the plot away because it's like 70 pages long. You could probably bang it out in a couple of hours. But basically we follow these two storylines. One is of this cop. He is a cop that was moved, I think, from another precinct, moved into this like very backwoods Deliverance kind of town. There is a lot of dialogue that is very, you know, deep Southern vernacular that would take some getting used to. I don't live in the US, I've never been to the US, so I did have to take a bit more time reading those specific scenes. But yeah, it's a lot. And then on the other hand, we have this guy who was recently released from prison, and both his parents are dead, and he's moved in with his grandpa, and he's up to shit, his grandpa is up to shit, and while they're up to shit, the policeman, the cop, is tasked with investigating this string of bizarre, aberrant murders around the area. And I just love this book so much. If your mind twists the same way mine does, you're gonna have a fucking blast, okay? So then after Header, I would like to recommend the book Pen Pal by Dathan Arbach. This, along with The Summer I Died, are the books that I think of when I think of books that fucking scared me. This book is so bleak, is so dark, is so sad and depressing that I just felt a pit in my stomach when I finished reading this book. After reading it, I just sat there with myself, distressed, depressed, and it was a lot. We follow this man who is recounting his past, and it starts off when he is a kid, he's in kindergarten, and they have this project where the kids write letters to these anonymous strangers, and they take the letters and put them in helium balloons and hope that the letters land somewhere, and whoever receives them writes back to them. I don't know if I should even go beyond what I just said, but when this guy gets the response letter, it triggers a chain of events that killed my soul. It's like It by Stephen King, but meets Slender Man, but in the real world, and on a smaller scale, but with a 10 times bigger impact than both those concepts put together. Okay, that's what I can say about Pen Pal. That's what I'm gonna say about Pen Pal. Read it if you dare. So I would also like to recommend the book Succulent Pray by Raph James White, because this book is about a man who was tortured as a kid and realizes that as an adult he thinks that he inherited his torturer's desire to consume human flesh. So this is a cannibal book, and he feels like this is like a vampire thing or a zombie thing, where if he kills the person who turned him into a cannibal, he can be therefore cured of his desire to consume human flesh. So he goes on this fucking road trip, and it's a road trip book. It's fun, it's fucking smutty, but like in a gross extreme horror way. Super splatterpunk, super gory, super disgusting. I think Meg didn't love it that much, which is totally fine, but let me just say this. This is the kind of book that knows exactly what it is, okay? Raph James White did not pretend to do anything else. He knew exactly what he was doing, and I love him for that. I gave this book 4 stars. I did a full vlog on this book. I was super entertained, and I think y'all would love this fucking fucked up road trip book too. Okay? Okay. So the final book I want to tell you about is, of course, the best of the best, The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is the book that started it all for me as far as extreme horror goes. We follow a bunch of Boy Scouts who go to this island, and they have a scout leader, Scoutmaster Tom, I think. And basically they're on this island, you know, just doing some Boy Scout shit, until one day this man comes out of the woods and he's being weird, he's being sketchy, he's being creepy. He has this thing where he eats so ravenously, but he's so emaciated. He's eating the soil, he's eating the grass. And when they find out why this guy is so hungry, bitch, okay? That is all I'm gonna say to you, okay? Okay. This book was so fucking brutal. Trigger warning for animal cruelty. There is a scene involving a turtle and a scene involving a kitten and a slug, I think. So it's a lot. In my opinion, the scenes weren't there for no reason. Like, they were put in there for a purpose. Specifically the turtle scene, and it being a metaphor for the loss of innocence and youth being confronted with deep, depraved cruelty for the first time. So just do bear that in mind, okay? There you go. Anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Like and comment and subscribe. Share this video with whoever you think would need some of this good stuff. If your brain twists the same way mine does, I think we're gonna get along. I think you're gonna enjoy these fucking books, okay? So yeah, notify yourself of when I post new shit. I hope to see you in future videos, and as always, take care. I lose myself.